I'm excited to have with me highly regarded actor Georgia Waters. She's here today to talk about her successful acting career and how she maintains a healthy lifestyle. Welcome, Georgia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, before we get into your acting, you are a huge swimmer.
Yes, yeah, I am. And I've missed that slightly. I haven't done as much since the pandemic's been on. Just, I think everyone's got their levels of what they feel comfortable with. And so I've not been doing that, but I can't wait until it feels like I can go swimming again. I need to get into wild swimming, actually. I haven't done that yet.
Wow.
That's
So
something.
you love the water.
I do. I love the water. I've been swimming since I can remember, really. My mum was, I think because she wasn't a comfortable swimmer, she was determined that I would be a strong swimmer. And my brother's trained as well. So she started us really young. And then also because my brother kept throwing himself into like ponds and stuff. So mum was like, okay, learn how to swim. So yeah, and I loved it and started doing competitions and it really took over. I was one of those people who, swimmers will know this, when you end up having like green hair because you're swimming so often from the chlorine.
Yes, yes. So you grew up, competitive with, swimming and actually martial arts too, right?
Yeah, martial arts, that was the other one. So it fluctuated between those two. And that was because my dad did taekwondo, so I wanted to go with him. And then took it up, loved it, and continued. And then I got my black belt when I was 14. So
Wow.
yeah, I was committed.
Oh my goodness. So do you find coming from a competitive sports background, do you think it's helped you with going into acting, like being disciplined, being committed and passionate about what you do?
Yeah, and especially taekwondo, because a lot of what you do is you study the ethos behind it as well, and perseverance is a big thing. So they say, I can never say it, indomitable spirit. So where you just keep going and you stay humble, and I think those two things are quite important. And integrity, that was another big one. So I think growing up with those kind of pillars and that foundation is definitely necessary for acting, because it can be brutal.
Yes, and I can't imagine like it would help you study the script better too, right? The concentration.
Yeah, with all the line learning and being diligent and also methodical as well. I guess once you've done it enough times, you're like, okay, I know how I'm going to approach this, and this is how I'm going to go about it. A bit like if you're, I guess, training for a race or something.
So tell us about when you wanted to become an actor.
I think it's just always been in my blood. I've always wanted to perform. Like the school plays when I was little were almost my favorite thing. Um, but I think my teachers thought it was odd because I was quite quiet. So it was this odd thing of I was always the quiet one in class, but I also wanted to perform. So I never got the lead roles when I was in primary school, which I was annoyed about. But I didn't give up. I remember in the school nativity, I was just put as a star, so I just had to stand behind the nativity. But I was like, no, I think I should have a dance for myself. The teachers agreed, so I got a whole dance number to myself. So yeah, it kind of just started then of like not giving up, and even when people kind of saying no, you're like, no, I'm going to make this role for myself. So and then in secondary school, I carried on doing all the theatre productions, and then it continued throughout university, and that's where I got scouted by my agent. So
Right. Yeah, so your shyness didn't stop you from following your career.
no, exactly. And I think quite a few actors are actually shy. um I don't know why we do it to ourselves. Even though why we have to be on stage or we have to be in front of the camera.
Well, it certainly takes skill, and you acted at the Oxford Playhouse, is that correct?
Yeah, I did. And I did a few productions there, and it was such a luxury to be able to do that. It's a beautiful place to perform. And I was lucky at Oxford that, you know, you get really good funding. And so the budgets that we had were amazing. So the sets were incredible, you know, with like part of the stages would slide up.
Wow.
Revolving. It was cool. It was amazing to be part of.
Wow. And you know, tell us about your first acting performance. What was that like on the stage?
Oh, I think that was probably in secondary school. So I think I was 15 or 14. And the adrenaline, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. And just being aware of how you can change the atmosphere in the room as well by what you're doing. And I remember there was a point where me and the other lead, we didn't forget our lines, but we're at different stages in our speech together, but we were still able to hold it together and no one noticed. And I think that's the amazing thing in theatre, when things go slightly wrong, but you manage to continue the illusion and the audience is still there with you. And you don't get that so much in film, but film is still an amazing thing to be part of as well.
It's not that connection with being on stage is I mean, would you say is more, I don't know, more fulfilling, but you have to reach out to the audience on stage as opposed to TV and film?
Yeah, definitely. And you're immediately aware of them and immediately aware of how they're responding to you. I guess it's similar for, I guess, sportswomen at the moment, when no one can be in the stands. So suddenly they're performing to no one. And I wonder if that changes it slightly when your audience isn't there.
You know, when was that pivotal moment that you knew that you wanted to become an actor, professional actor?
I think I always wanted it. So Emma Thompson went to Cambridge and did English, and then was part of the Footlights and became a professional. And I think that was part of why I went to Oxford and did English and did all the theatre. So that was kind of my dream, was to follow her path, I guess. Yeah, and then when I got my agent, realizing, oh, this can actually happen. I can work as an actor, kind of like that as well.
Well, you're indeed a role model, and you're also a model too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that takes discipline too, right? What can you tell us, what was that like? Are you still modeling?
I am, yeah, I am. I do more outdoorsy brands here in Vancouver now, like Arc'teryx and MEC, Lululemon, which is great because that's, you know, using my love for sport and also modeling together, which is great. But yeah, I started really young. I was modeling since I was 14, which sounds crazy now.
I mean,
yeah, if other people told me that, like, you know, someone they knew starts, a 14-year-old, I've got some cousins who are 14, if they started modeling, I was like, what are you doing? Going to work. But so yeah, from a very young age, I was in a professional environment and with adults. And I think, yeah, you need a lot of, because there's a lot of holding the same pose for a while. There's a lot of long days, being cold. I think yoga's actually helped a lot with that as well, being able to like hold yourself, and because it's physically quite tiring as well, modeling. So yeah, it's quite a daunting thing when you're young, when suddenly you're in this big professional world. But yeah, it's taken me to some great places around the world, and gave me the funding as well to fund myself for university. So I'm very grateful for modeling.
yes, I mean, you're a professional actor, you're a model. I mean, tell us about, how do you maintain a healthy lifestyle? Like, how do you, like, your nutrition, you're still working out?
Yeah, I guess working out is very important for my profession. Even with, acting, you never know what a role is going to require of you. Like in SIREN, I knew there'd be a lot of underwater work, which was great. But then suddenly there are running scenes as well. And if you're doing that a lot, you need to be able to have the stamina ready to do that. So yeah, it's one of those catch-22s that when you're really busy, you don't have as much time to work out, but working out means that you're able to perform better at those things you're doing for your mental health. So I think yoga in the morning has been really important, especially when I'm going on set that day. I like, even if my call time's at like 4 or 5 a.m, I like to get up earlier so I can at least spend 15 minutes doing some yoga so my body's ready. And I usually take a roll mat as well to set, because there's often times in between when you have half an hour and it's good to do some stretching. And actually when I was filming Siren here, I did sometimes try and cycle to set, because that would be a great way to get in the cardio and you arrive kind of fresh and ready. It was a little bit more complicated than when you finish at like 3 a.m. and you have to cycle back after a long day. And I was like, oh, I regret this now. But yeah, I definitely, when I'm working hard on set, making sure you get the time to work out. And like when I did the film in Winnipeg, we're in a hotel that had a gym, so it was great. You could find those like half-hour moments where you could just squeeze it in, and it always makes you feel better, even if you're feeling exhausted and rubbish. Half an hour doing some exercise always makes you feel better.
Yes, I mean, you can focus better, and also your breathing, it helps with your posture and then your background.
Yeah, it helps. Well, the yoga helps me get in the zone, and can relax you as well. And the breathing techniques, as you say, they're very good for nerves as well. So before auditions.
Yeah, so tell us about, you play a mermaid, a refugee mermaid, is that correct? And tell us about, you're in the water, which you love. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what to expect when I got cast in the role. I knew she was a healer, so she's a healer mermaid, and I'd watched the first season, and so I got cast for the second season, and it's all set in a fictional town called Bristol Cove in Washington, that's filmed here in Vancouver. And it's about a mermaid who comes onto land and starts interacting with the humans, because in season 1 she's searching for her sister who's been taken, and it's all about developing relationships with the humans, how they respond to something that's so different and alien, and then also trying to keep it secret because they don't want everyone to know that mermaids do exist, because people would freak out and start testing them. And then in season 2, which is when my character arrives, we've been driven on land because of the overfishing and also the sonar waves that are created by the fishing boats. So all our feeding patterns have been thrown off, loads of mermaids are dying, so we're coming onto land for like a last ditch attempt for help. So yeah, so that's where the story kind of begins with my character, and I develop relationships with some of the other humans, because she's a healer, she's a bit more empathetic, whereas the other mermaids are a lot more aggressive. So yeah, and yeah, it was amazing being able to do, most of it's on land when we're in human form, but then there are scenes that are underwater, and those were all filmed in a huge tank in the studios. And yeah, it was incredible. We have amazing coach Roberta who trained us up for that. She always made you feel completely safe. We did a lot of breathing training, a lot of free diving training and breath holds, and then also using the scuba, because I hadn't done that before. So yeah, it's pretty crazy what we had to do, and then act as well when you're underwater.
Yes. Well, from being such a great athlete, it helps, right? I mean, with your background in swimming, and yeah. So tell us some of the people you work, like Curtis Lum, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, he's lovely. Our characters didn't interact too much. Those few scenes we got to do together. And there's one in season 3 that I really liked where we persuade him to let us use his boat. And yeah, so he's such a nice person, and great to work with.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful place, or where acting, the film or it's a TV series, right?
Yeah,
And
TV
yes.
series. And the cast and crew really made it. It truly felt like a family. And everyone's in touch still now. Still good friends, which is so nice because you're working together for over like 2 or 3 years. So, and long hours, long days. So you do get to know each other very well. So yeah, that it's great that everyone was so lovely, because if they weren't, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a popular show, and and the feedback has been amazing, correct? And
Yeah, it was Freeform's highest rated show for the 3 years, which is amazing. And now it's just newly on Disney Plus last week, which is great. Because so many of my friends here were like, how do we watch it? And because it was on Hulu and Freeform, which you don't get, whereas now they can all watch it. So it's great.
it's wonderful. That's really great. And now you played a nanny, from understanding, Toys of Terror. Tell us
Yeah,
about that. Ooh, it's spooky when I
yeah. Yeah, on the other, I guess it's still a supernatural world. Yeah, so, and interesting, my character in this film was originally meant to be English. That's how I auditioned for it, and I thought perfect. But then the network decided they wanted to make her American, so testing my American accent, which is good. But yeah, so it's about a family who go to a house for Christmas that the mum is renovating to flip and sell for a lot more money. And because they'll be working the whole time, they bring their nanny to help with the children. What the mum doesn't tell the family is that it used to be a children's hospital where a real tragedy happened, where the children died. And then suddenly all these strange things start happening, and my character and the teenage daughter notice it all, and they try and solve the mystery and save the day. So
wow. I mean, how much fun was it?
oh, that was great fun as well. We were out in Winnipeg, and I'd never been to Winnipeg before, so that was great. Having to deal with Winnipeg winter with yeah, my face was so dry. I couldn't, I guess here we're used to so much rain in Vancouver, but yeah, my skin really suffered, and I kept getting electrocuted by everything because it's so dry there.
Oh.
So anytime I touched a table or anything, I would get electrocuted. But the crew and cast, it was, yeah, everyone was so lovely, and yeah, it was a real treat to be able to do that film. And I think it's so key when the cast members and the crew all gel together, because you've got to do really difficult long days. So I've been so lucky with everyone I've worked with so far.
Yes, and then bringing your yoga mat and trying to do a workout, it really helps overall your mind and body. You have that mind and body connection.
Yeah, definitely. And you can always feel it physically if you're not looking after your mind, and the other way around, if you're not looking after your body, you feel it in your mind. So yeah, it's so important when you're doing big days to make sure you stay healthy and strong.
Yeah. So tell us about Ladders.
Oh yeah, so that was a pilot that I filmed back in England. And yeah, I've actually become very good friends with the writer, Laura Goodison. She created this really fun idea that it was around university students, and my character was the geeky, loves the rules, very straight-laced roommate, and her character, she was wild, always drunk, always leaving the door open, never paying her rent. So a lot of it was kind of about the interaction between certain characters grating against each other. yeah, that was great fun to do. We had an amazing director for it, and it yeah, it was lovely. That was back in London, so yeah, it's kind of nice having that, and obviously it's set in London as well, so it's nice having that homage to my London days.
Yes. Would you like to play a heroine in your next film, or what characters would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, that would be lovely. I love period dramas, so I'd love to, anything set in history I would love to do. And then also continue working like on projects that are physical. So, and if I got to use my martial arts training, that would be very fun. Any like adaptations, I love adaptations of novels. So yeah, and there's a lot of great stuff being filmed in Vancouver, and I think because we're in a good place with everything they've set up from the pandemic, hopefully I think a lot of places will be turning their sites to Vancouver for filming, just because we've got everything you need.
Yeah. So what is next for you?
So next, there's a film that is called Viewfinder that will be coming out later this year. And that's got a lot to do with mental health, and specifically men's mental health. So I'm excited to see that come out. That'll be released digitally. We're not quite sure where yet, but yeah, I'm still waiting on details for that. But it's been fun, and a real project of love. And yeah, recently, because we were trying to figure out how to do extra promo bits for it, and I was able to like write a little scene myself, which was great. That because of everything with the pandemic, a lot of things are on Zoom, so we thought the idea of my character being interviewed on Zoom as like an extra promo piece. So yeah, I'm very excited for that to finally come out. And then yeah, just auditioning. Things seem to be opening up properly here, so yeah, excited for things to get back to normal and film sets to, well, they won't be normal for a long time because everyone's still got to be masked and tested, but yeah, so excited for things to come.
Yes. And so is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. We kind of covered the physicality and covered those two roles.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite dish? What do you?
Oh, my favorite dish. Gosh, I do love pasta, and I think one of my favorites was when I was in Italy and they did this pecini mushroom pasta, and I think because everything's so fresh there, it just tastes amazing. And then I do, true to my British form, I love a roast dinner. So with roast chicken's probably my favorite, or roast beef, and with all the trimmings. But yeah, so between those two.
Yes. And if people want to get in touch with you, or follow you on your socials, where can they go?
So I'm mostly on Instagram, which is Georgia_Scarlett_Waters. I do have Twitter, but I don't use it that often. So I should. Maybe that will be a thing for this year that I do. But yeah, mostly Instagram.
Yes. And to check out SIREN, and to check out Toys of Terror.
And Toys of Terror, I think you can rent it on either Amazon or YouTube or Apple, but you can also buy the DVD, yes. Which I did, and it's very fun having the actual DVD. And then, yeah, SIREN's now on Disney Plus, which is great. So everyone can watch it.
Yes, I want to thank you very much for being a guest on the show, and I love to invite you back in 6 months or.
Hey, that would be lovely. It's been great chatting to you. I listened to a few of your podcasts before, and I think, yeah, it's so important, using exercise to help yourself mentally. And yeah, if ever there's a day I'm feeling rubbish, I'm like, okay, I know I just go and exercise now.
Well, you are a role model, and it was such a pleasure, speaking with you, and can't wait for you to come back. So
Yeah, that'd be lovely.